and search for meaning page 84. But I have to confess here that only too rarely had I the inner strength to make contact with my companions in suffering, and that I must have missed many opportunities for doing so. We now come to the third stage of the prisoner's mental reactions, the psychology of the prisoner after his liberation. But prior to that, we shall consider a question which a psychologist is asked frequently, especially when he has personal knowledge of these matters. What can you tell us about the psychological makeup of the camp guards? How is it possible that men of flesh and blood could treat others as so many prisoners say they have been treated? Having once heard these accounts and having come to believe that these things did happen, one is bound to ask how psychologically they could happen. To answer this question without going into great detail, a few things must be pointed out. First, among the guards, there were some sadists in the purest clinical sense. Second, these sadists were always selected when a really severe detachment of guards was needed. There was great joy at our work site when we are permission to warm ourselves for a few minutes after 2 hours of work in the bitter frost, in front of a little stove which was fed with twigs and scraps of wood. But there were always some foremen who found a great pleasure in taking discomfort from us. How clearly their faces reflected this pleasure when I not only forbade us to stand there, but turned over the stove and dumped its lovely fire into the snow. When the SS took a dislike to a person, there was always some special man in their ranks known to have a passion for and to be highly specialized in sadistic torture, to whom the unfortunate prisoner was sent. Third, the feelings of the majority of the guards had been dulled by a number of years in which, in ever-increasing doses, they had witnessed the brutal methods of the camp. These morally and mentally hardened men at least refused to take active part in sadistic measures, but they did not prevent others from carrying them out. Fourth, it must be stated that even among the guards, there were some who took pity on us. I shall only mention the commander of the camp from which I was liberated. It was found after the liberation, only the camp doctor, prisoner himself, had known of it previously that this man had paid no small sum of money from his own pocket in order to purchase medicines for his prisoners from the nearest market town. An interesting incident with reference to this SS commander is in regard to the attitude toward him of some of his Jewish prisoners. At the end of the war, when the American troops liberated the prisoners from our camp, 3 young Hungarian Jews that hid this commander in the Bavarian woods. Then they went to the commander of the American forces, who was very eager to capture this SS commander, and they said they would tell him where he was, but only under certain conditions. The American commander must promise that absolutely no harm would come to this man. After a while, the American officer finally promised these young Jews that the SS commander, when taken into captivity, would be kept safe from harm. Not only did the American officer keep his promise, but, as a matter of fact, the former SS commander of this concentration camp was in a sense restored to his command, for he supervised the collection of clothing among the nearby Bavarian villages and his distribution to all of us who at the time still wore the clothes we had inherited from other inmates of Camp Auschwitz who were not as fortunate as we. having been sent to the gas chamber immediately upon arrival at the railway station.